All right. Terence Crawford is seeming just a little more anxious to get a fight with Errol Spence Jr. Says there is no street separating the two, but that's just not true. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Also, as usual, thank you so much to the Patreons over on the Patreon channel. Definitely check out the new video we have up there on Patreon. It is the first video on advanced negotiation tactics, dealing with very difficult people and getting to a yes is definitely worth your time. Short introduction video, about 14 minutes on the subject. We're gonna break it down in some more videos, but thank you, Patreons. Also, thank you very much, everybody that supports the channel on Whose Tube Is This Mine? You, my dude. Thank you so much for your support through the Cash App. Also, thank you to everybody that donates on the live streams through Super Chat. Now, let's get to this. Terence Crawford, man, he's starting to make me believe that he actually wants to have this fight with Errol Spence Jr. After the Maurice Hooker versus Jose Ramirez fight in Dallas, he was interviewed by DAZN and they were asking him about the Errol Spence Jr. fight and how, difficult it was going to be for him to fight not just Errol Spence, but all the other champions that are over there on who are fighting with the PBC, who are fighting on Fox, who are fighting on Showtime. Obviously, he's talking about Manny Pacquiao. He's talking about Errol Spence, and he's talking about Sean Porter, depending on who wins between Errol Spence Jr. and Sean Porter. He said, "Look, what fence? You see that Maurice Hooker is fighting Jose Ramirez. Maurice Hooker is with DAZN and Rock Nation, and Jose Ramirez is with Top Rank and ESPN, and they made that happen, so we can make these fights happen." And, in theory, I think that's true. But practically speaking, I don't know, because there very much seems not only to be two sides of the street. There seems to be two sides different sides of a chasm. With what the rumor is, at least if the rumors are true, that the PBC is no longer going to recognize the WBO as a major championship belt. That, and you can check out the video that I did on the subject, that is pretty much is close to a battle between Top Rank and the PBC as you can get. You already had Bob Arum coming out and saying all kind of disparaging things about Al Heyman, on top of suing him, right? Besides just, being part of the lawsuits, him and the WBO president suing Al Heyman, he also recently has been talking about how Al Heyman doesn't exist, all those type of things we know and we've covered on the channel over the last year. But the most important barrier to this is the fact that there are so many fights that can be made without Terence Crawford. That being, obviously, you saw the Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman fight. Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman did somewhere around 500,000 pay-per-views, which is pretty good. I thought it was going to do around 450,000 pay-per-views. That's what Manny Pacquiao should be able to bring in. He has a lot of fans. He's a very popular fighter, very well-known fighter. And it was going to be, and you also had Keith Thurman, who was a good name. So you had that fight. So that shows you that's a combination of fighters that can do around 450,000, 500,000 pay-per-views. So you also have Sean Porter versus Errol Spence Jr., which I suspect is probably going to do around 350, 400,000 pay-per-views. Not just because of the combination of the two fighters, but the atmosphere in the welterweight division, having so many really good fights that can happen, and Errol Spence Jr. having already done 350,000, around 350,000 with Mikey Garcia. there might be a slight drop off because it's not Mikey Garcia, but I don't think so. I think Errol Spence Jr.'s name has had enough publicity and enough push behind it, so where those numbers are going to be consistent. And I do believe that it's on Fox. So, and Fox is really pushing and advertising these fights. So, the fact that you have the Fox promotion behind it, and I'm telling you, from what I can see, Fox is they're getting the most eyeballs on fights in boxing right now. More so than ESPN, more so their numbers, their non-pay-per-view numbers on ESPN, like the numbers for the Caleb Plant fight that he had in the undercard of the Manny Pacquiao fight. Those guys are doing bigger numbers than they're doing on ESPN on just when you compare the two biggest channels. So I think there's just so many fights that can be made over there in Showtime that, what is if Bob Arum is not willing to give up the lion's share of the money, then how the finances go. They're going to find a reason to do something else when you compile all those issues, right? You have Sean Porter, Errol Spence Jr. You've got, if Errol Spence Jr. beats Sean Porter, you still have you could have Errol Spence Jr. Keith Thurman still. Keith Thurman is saying that he wants a rematch, but Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence Jr. is still a viable fight. You got Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao more than likely is not going to fight Errol Spence Jr., but you have Manny Pacquiao versus, what is this dude? Amir Khan. The PBC has a bunch of matches that they can do to make real good fights. And then you have the problem with Bob Arum. So what I really believe Terence Crawford needs to do is Terence Crawford needs to come do what he did with ESPN when he does with DAZN, but do it in a fight that is on the PBC. Come to the fight with Sean Porter and Errol Spence Jr. Be insistent at the fight with Errol Spence Jr. and Sean Porter that you want that fight next. Errol Spence Jr. already said that he would be willing to fight, that he wants to fight Terence Crawford, that he's not going to move up out of the 147-pound division until he fights Terence Crawford. My understanding is that the two guys like one another and the two guys want to fight each other. Errol Spence Jr. seems like he's the type of guy that doesn't want to leave any questions unanswered. Doesn't seem scared of the fight at all. Terence Crawford doesn't seem scared of the fight at all. But I think Terence Crawford needs to put more pressure. Needs to put more pressure on the PBC to make that fight happen by showing up to Errol Spence Jr.'s fight. Saying it in a fight in Dallas, I think was a good thing. Or insinuating. I'm not sure if he actually said that he wanted it. He still kind of a little bit passive aggressive with it, but hey man, I'll take it. From Terence Crawford for a couple years now, I've been saying, look, Terence Crawford has to call Errol Spence Jr. out. He's got to say that he wants to fight. He missed the opportunity to do that after the Jose Benavidez fight. I think after this last fight with Amir Khan, he said that he wanted to fight, but he's got to keep pushing it, and because there's one thing about Errol Spence Jr.'s fan base, and I think this is consistent with Canelo Alvarez's fan base. They're going to want Errol Spence Jr. to fight whoever it is that people are saying can beat Errol Spence Jr. I've had a lot of comments on my page from Canelo Alvarez fans that say that they want to see him fight Charlo. I've gotten a lot of messages from people when they are true fans of the fighter and they really believe their fighter is the best. They want to push that fighter they want that fight to happen. So most Errol Spence Jr. fans that I know, most of his core fan base want that Terence Crawford fight to happen. Unlike certain other fan bases who don't want to see their fighters fight somebody else, like Anthony Joshua's fan base. Anthony Joshua's fan base seemed like the last thing that they wanted was for Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder. They spent more of their time talking about who the A-side was and who wasn't popular and how many tickets the guy didn't sell and insulting the guy in public and all that, which really did create a barrier to making that. Well, the barrier was already there. And I think the conversation might have been a little, manufactured, but I think you get my point. That fan base really didn't want that fight. They wanted their fighter to win and be the champion and didn't care who they fought. I don't believe that's the case with Canelo Alvarez's real fan base. They actually want to see this guy fight the best fighters. And when he doesn't, most of the people that I know that are real Canelo Alvarez fans will tell you that he didn't fight the best. He needs to fight Charlo, or he needs to fight this other guy. Same thing holds true for Errol Spence Jr.'s fan base. They will flat out tell you that they want to see Errol Spence Jr. fight Terence Crawford. Same thing with Terence Crawford's fan base. And I think if they both come together, then that's really going to be who's the next, middleweight. And I know they're not literally a middleweight. I mean the middleweight divisions. They're not little guys. They're not big guys. They're right between that, that 140 pound to 160, 140 to 160 pound weight, those weight classes. That will be the guy. The winner of Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford should be the guy that really solidifies the African American or the black fan base in America, which would make a mega fight if somebody like Manny Pacquiao really did want to fight, or if they were able to move up and fight Canelo Alvarez. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.